Hey, Monty, the news came down that Tom Thibodeau was named Coach of the Year. You finished second in the balloting. Just your thoughts on Tom getting the award?
I mean, they've had an unreal year. It's pretty cool to watch somebody that I've worked with win an award like that, and what they've been able to do in New York is pretty cool. It's a reflection of how hard Thibs works and the way that team plays. Those are really cool moments when you have, one of your brothers that you've worked with get an achievement like that. It's awesome. So I haven't been in communication with him yet because we're so focused on our game tonight, but I'm happy for Thibs.
Next up is going to be Nick King with Channel 3, Channel 5, and then Dwayne Rankin.
Monty, the 8 teams that are left, including you guys, all either have not won NBA titles or have not in a very long time. Was wondering what you think of that kind of as a fan and longtime player and coach in the NBA, just kind of the fresh blood situation.
Yeah, I don't hadn't thought much about that. Those are not things that I tend to think about during these times, but I think it's a reflection of, young teams and movement throughout the league, I think is probably a big part of it. All those guys going to Brooklyn certainly helps. But I don't know what else to say. I'm just really grateful that we are a part of that group.
Next up is Dwayne Rankin with the Arizona Republic, followed by Gerald Briguet. Dwayne. All right, next up is going to be Gerald Briguet with Fansided, followed by Gina Mizell.
Hey, Coach. Lots been made of the DeAndre Ayton, Nikola Jokic matchup, obviously. They're two guys that respect each other and seem to elevate their games when they've played against each other. What do you see from that matchup, especially because, you've stressed in the past that with a guy like Jokic, it's not just a one-on-one matchup, but more of a team defensive assignment.
That's our focus. We've been pretty consistent. When you're playing against great players like that, it's a team effort. Obviously, DA brings a lot to the table as far as his ability to defend and rebound and block shots and distract shots. But our ability to show Jokic a crowd and rebound the ball and, a few other things is going to be key. I can see the intrigue with the media and even as a fan, but as a team, we have to really give DA and Dario and Frank and all of our guys who will be on him coverage on the backside, coverage with bodies in the paint, and as I said, make sure we rebound the ball.
We're going to go back to Dwayne Rankin, followed by Gina Mizell.
Thank you, Coach. Want to go back to the Coach of the Year. It was the smallest margin of victory. It was 11 points since the format they do now, which is 5 for first, 3 for second, 1 point for third. I voted. Since the voting's out now, I voted you first, Thibs second, and Snyder third. So I'm a little like, wow, I'm kind of surprised, but I just wanted to get your thought. Did you think that you were going to win this? And what do you think of that margin being so tight, coming down to that?
I mean, the coaches award that I got earlier was pretty cool. I don't think you think much about it until it happens. As far as the margin is concerned, it's a reflection of how your team is playing. So if you're in the top group of coaches, that means your team's probably playing well. And as I've said before, I'm grateful to have a job in this economy. I'm grateful to have a team that has played well, and we hope that they continue to play well. And I'm glad to be in that group of coaches. I'm probably the one that doesn't fit as far as, guys who are looked at as, coaches in that regard. I wasn't a guard. I wasn't a point guard, or any of those things that most people look for as far as being in that group of coaches. So for me, it's an honor to even be mentioned. And so if it was a close battle, that's pretty cool, but it's a reflection of all those teams playing well. And again, I think it's cool that Thibs won it. I think he's won 2 of them. So I know he's pretty stoked about that. But I'm just grateful that our team is playing well, and I hope that we continue. I don't know much about how they tally all that stuff up, but if it was a close race, that's pretty cool to even be considered.
Next is Gina Mizell with Suns.com, and then Brendan Clean.
Hey, Monty, we've spent the last couple of days asking you questions about this matchup and keys to the series and all that, but just what will be the first things that you're paying attention to in those first few possessions as far as keys, or just things that'll illustrate to you that you're like on the right track, or that the game plan is being executed?
The ability to rebound the ball for us, if we can force stops and get the board, we'll be in good shape in that regard. And then getting back in transition, they're a team that can get out and run a little bit different, because Jokic can make long passes, and he can affect the game in so many ways. There's a number of things we're always looking at. The force that we play with, we felt like in the last series, we were able to play with a great deal of force for long periods of time, and that helped us to secure the victories we needed. And here at home, it's a great atmosphere for us to do that in, but we know that we can do that at home and on the road. And so rebounding for sure, and being able to keep them out of our paint. They had a game this year where I think they had 80 points in the paint, and that's, I think that was the record for the year against us. It might be historical in that particular category. So there's going to be a number of things I'm looking at, but rebounding for sure is going to be something that is going to be key. We got to force stops, contest shots, especially Porter Jr., his ability to make tough shots. You got to get a hand up, and you got to make sure you rebound.
Final 2 questions are going to be Brendan Clean with Locked On Suns and Nicole Jarina.
Hey, Monty. In the first series, we didn't see foul trouble really become an issue for you guys, for anybody in a big way. But what kinds of things can you, as a coach, impart on your players to avoid? Are there things you can coach about avoiding foul trouble, or is that the refs and the opponent and the flow of the game?
I think all of the above come into play. I think you have to have the discipline to move your feet and show your hands while not taking away from your physicality, but you also have to read the game. There's a certain level of physicality in the playoffs that the officials will allow, and we want to make sure that we're involved in that physicality legally. And then guys have to have foul awareness. That's key in the playoffs. You have to know how many fouls you have, and then you have to adjust accordingly without becoming passive. That's the one thing we don't want, is any of our guys playing passive defense or offense. There are times where guys can pick up a charge, and we don't want our guys, backing away from attacking the paint because you pick up a charge or being aggressive on offense.
Final question is Nicole Jarina from Puerto Rico.
Hi, Coach. A little follow with DA. How much do you think his experience from the Lakers series will be hurt him and the team with the matchup with Jokic?
I think the Lakers series for sure is going to help us in this matchup. The physicality of that series was about as physical as I've seen since back in the day when I played in the series with the Knicks. I remember sitting there watching and listening to the physicality of going against Drummond and Anthony and playing against a guy like LeBron can only help you grow as a team. So I'm hopeful all of that will help DA and all of our players. And you can only grow from going through a series like that. And we're playing a really good team in Denver. What Mike and his staff have been able to do, losing Murray and seemingly not missing a beat, is going to be key. And they're a physical team. I mean, you look at Gordon, JaMychal Green, Millsap, Jokic, like those are big, strong, physical guys that you have to keep off the glass, and you have to really own your space with those guys.